Hi, my name's Wright, and I'm here to talk to you about what Bitcoin's really about. None of the sort of false ideas and equivocation around Bitcoin as a trading system or digital asset that people can trade to make lots of money or whatever else. All of that is designed as an argument by people wanting to quickly take your money, to effectively make a Ponzi. The real version of what Bitcoin's about is in the title of the white paper. It's very simple. Bitcoin is an electronic cash system. It allows you to transfer money quickly and easily and to hold it without any of the existing infrastructure that is necessary to do this. So I'm going to introduce the real power of Bitcoin, the power that will allow global trade and honest transactions, instant transactions at very low cost. And this is an important aspect of trade when we're talking about Africa. So first of all, let me tell you how Bitcoin's secured. It's because the protocol doesn't change. There is no such thing as a fork. There is no such thing as different protocol versions. If you change Bitcoin, you're passing off and pretending that it's something else. So where people have all these altered versions, where they change the protocol, then effectively, and anytime you do something like different opcodes or playing around trying to make it more anonymous, it's no longer Bitcoin. Bitcoin works because nobody changes any of the code. There's no voting or any other system like this within Bitcoin. When I mentioned voting in the white paper, I was referring to a problem that we don't have. It's the implementation of symbols. Bitcoin doesn't have that because the only vote are the nodes, and there are only a few nodes. People don't understand this. There are less than 100 nodes in the history of Bitcoin. The nodes are very small in number because all they really do is process all these transactions that come through. They're not the average user. The average user, very simply, just has SPV. All they care about is their own transaction. So as long as nothing changes, the user's fine. There's nothing that anyone can do to attack the system other than passing off and pretending that something else is Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin SV. Well, this is my original version, and it's the only Bitcoin. So back when I created Bitcoin and talked about a stable protocol, I wasn't talking about this radical decentralization idea. That's what other people wanted. And with a blockchain, there isn't a way that everyone can do that intentionally. What we want is a system where there are a few, and by few, I actually mean a few individuals with the capability of taking the blockchain and adding and processing on it. These are corporations, in effect. There will only be a few of them ever. And this is an important aspect, not because of these arguments about centralization, but because it doesn't centralize. The competitive forces in Bitcoin mean that those individuals running nodes won't get past, say, 30–40%, allowing competition to develop. Over time, when something happens to one of these entities, they are very quickly and easily replaced. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. Not that everyone has to run a node, but that people don't need to run a node. And more importantly, that all any person needs to do is have the hash chain. This is the irony of explaining Bitcoin. The simple distribution of the hash chain, the basically root of the blockchain, is as secure as the entire blockchain. No one likes to talk about this for a reason. If you start to think about that, then you understand that Bitcoin's fine with scaling. The average user only needs that 80 byte per 10-minute hash chain, the blocks, the block headers. They don't require every transaction that ever transpires. Because very simply, if the security of the hash is compromised, then it doesn't matter whether you have a 1 meg block or a 1 gig block. The entire thing is compromised. So once you have a hash of all the transactions, which you do in a Merkle tree structure or a binary tree in proper parlance, then that's as secure as you need to be. So we basically can scale. At present, we can go up to around 1 million transactions per 30 minutes, which is slow. As we grow and as more investments put into the different nodes running the system, it will be possible already to scale up to around 1 million transactions per second. This is going to take time and investment, but that's going to happen with use. So the only scale limit is what people decide to personally think exists. And that really is nothing. The truth of the matter is there's no such thing as a scale limit in Bitcoin. So this is really important when we're considering Africa. Africa is a nation that allows very few people access to traditional banking. The inflation rates and volatility basically cause many people problems. It doesn't allow people to save, and people are taken advantage of. We need a methodology that will allow people to safely, securely, and quickly transact on a global level. This is Bitcoin. People will be able to do different projects, coding, development, design, all from African nations where they can send files using the cloud right now and be paid securely for their efforts. With escrow and other things, you can actually lock and protect your files, register intellectual property, and do exchanges, ensuring that you will be paid. It is analogous to cash, to a cash transaction. The difference now is very simple. Your money can be transferred instantly around the world. So even when we're talking about normal transactions, someone in a village 100 miles away can look on the internet and see that there are fish for sale. That individual can put up and escrow money. They could do the equivalent of, say, putting away $20 worth of funds to pre-purchase a number of fish. It can even be a surety contract where the person selling the fish guarantees that they are there. If that happens, that means the person buying them knows that they can travel and not waste their time. And everyone now gets the amount of money that they've been promised. If the fish seller sells the fish because a better deal comes along, then a surety is paid to the original buyer who hasn't wasted their time. Conversely, the fish seller knows that if the person doesn't come, that there's a guarantee and they can get partial payment there as well. So this is really the aspect that people should be talking about, micropayments. Bitcoin can be used to exchange small amounts. We're talking fractions of a cent. Right now, throughout Africa, people exchange money in small amounts. We can do something very small today. We can exchange online today. We can buy and sell use of mobile devices, for instance, paying for data access in small fractions of a cent, accessing sites in small fractions of a cent, allowing people to create access to a variety of data that they can sell, both in Africa and to people in America or Europe or anywhere else in the world, including Asia, instantly. Importantly, it is faster and more secure than credit card payments. You don't need to worry about reversals. And you don't have the cost There's no overhead. The percentage difference, the many percents that you give away to Visa, MasterCard, or American Express doesn't exist in Bitcoin. The money that is taken when you're using PayPal or other services, none of that's an issue. When you compare 20, 30 cents per transaction to 1/100th of a cent for a transaction, you start to see how radically different Bitcoin is when compared to any of these other systems. So Bitcoin is nearly instantaneous. It's none of this idea of you need to get it into a block. You can monitor and know that you are the first. Bitcoin is instantaneous, and when it's not, we're talking small fees that are too small and you will wait. But if you pay the correct amount, which is automatically determined if you want to ensure that your transaction gets in, and it's still a fraction of a cent, then you're talking 1 or 2 seconds and you're guaranteed that your payment is first. You know that someone's tried to basically double spend and scam you. So it's fast and convenient. Fractions of a cent is affordable. Nobody can argue that if you're transferring 10 cents and you have to pay 1/100th of a cent, that even that is a concern. It's a rounding error. And we have mobile wallets already starting within Africa, allowing people to engage and transact now. It's effective. CentB has been operating in Africa and knows the market. It knows it well, and it is focused primarily on this market. So we have people in a variety of different areas throughout Africa, throughout the world, working to build this system, not just so that they can make a quick cent, not just so that they can come in there and pump a coin, but to create something of value. Adoption has been growing. So it's been 12 years now since the white paper's out, and a lot of people have been running around with this false idea that you need to run a network node. I actually discredited that before Bitcoin was launched. When I released the Bitcoin white paper 12 years ago, I had a section called Simplified Payment Verification. This allows people to interact directly. They don't need to run a node. The first version of my software did not require running a node. The way that it worked would be that an individual could send a payment to another individual, and the recipient could then send it to the network for verification. That process allowed very quick, very simple validation of transactions, payment, etc. The funny thing is, people pay in all sorts of ways that aren't immediate now. We still have checks, we still have money orders, we still have transfers, and even payments via credit card can take up to 60 days to clear. If you can pay someone with a credit card and then go within 60 days and invalidate that transaction, how is that final and secured? With Bitcoin, you know within seconds that your payment is basically going to be put into a block, not double spent, and that you are safe. The argument against this is that corporations who have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in creating nodes, mining farms, that they will try and scam you by double spending. Imagine what that means. You're buying some goods, maybe plantains, and you're spending the equivalent of $5. The mining fee is around 1/100th of a cent. The argument is that these individuals are going to breach computer crime legislation, which would enable the seizure of their hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment, the basically arrest of the primaries in those corporations for crimes for up to 20 years imprisonment, so that they could maybe get 1 cent out of you. That is the false and misleading argument. SPV was always secure. SPV allows you to engage directly with the person that you want to transact with, not by sending transactions halfway around the world, not by putting them out to the network and hoping the other person connects, but by actually exchanging directly with the other person straight away. That's why Bitcoin's scalable. So we have a system right now that allows consumers and merchants to make payments even if there's a disruption in the connectivity to the network. You can pay somebody and have that payment, and as soon as you get reconnected to the network, you can send it the same as if you get a check. And that allows you to take your payment right now, know that you're being paid, and if your connectivity is only intermittent and it goes down every 30 minutes or so, within 30 minutes you'll be back in the network and you can process all those transactions. That's the power of Bitcoin. So how does this work? Very simple. The customer pays the merchant. That sounds very familiar. That's how we pay with cash. Next, the merchant validates the transactions using SPV. Again, if you, for instance, get a large value note, 50 US dollars or whatever the equivalent is in a particular different jurisdiction, nation, etc., you hold it up and you check it. You make sure that it's real. You make sure that it hasn't been clipped or anything like this, and you ensure that you're not getting counterfeit. So the same way merchants validate cash, merchants validate SPV. And they do this by going out and checking the blockchain. Has this been spent before? They send it to the blockchain and go, is it sent? Now, if someone has already sent this to the blockchain and it hasn't gone into a block, you're still not going to take that. You can send it off there and hope you'll get paid, but you don't give the goods over to the other person. It's very simple. If someone gives you a counterfeit 20, then you don't take it and hope that the next person will take that from you. It's a very simple process. So once the transaction's broadcast, the first transaction wins. And within seconds, you know. So if someone tries to double spend, you know in seconds. So all this fear, uncertainty, and doubt has nothing to do with the functioning of Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with the security of the system. It's really an argument that people make because they want a different system. Bitcoin is more than digital currency. It allows you to build an immutable evidence chain. It enables you to put value on all of the exchanges that you do. It enables you to integrate finance into the systems you're creating. Because of this, we have a system that can offer utility to machines, to people, and all of those who are building around the world. All of these features enable things that nothing else can because nobody has been working on my original invention. They have been trying to re-implement BitGold or eCash, and they've been trying to do all of the things that Bitcoin was designed not to do. They have been working on making it more anonymous, of removing the audit trail. Well, Bitcoin's very robust, and that just doesn't work. I put these things in because Bitcoin's not designed to be an anarchist system. It is not designed so that people can get rid of the evidence trail. Bitcoin is meant to have all of these things. It is stable, and that's very important. The key aspect of why the internet has grown is not because it was free. People get that wrong all the time. It's because it was open, and importantly, it's stable. NetWare changed. Version 3, 3.1, 4, 4.1, the addition of binary, the removal of binary, all of these things meant that businesses businesses don't want to take something that changes. So what we have is instability drives business away. Bitcoin is stable. The same protocol can build anything you need. The same way we see a very simple protocol in IP, TCP, HTTP, and all of the things that form layers within the internet. Bitcoin allows that to be built within it. And because of this ability to build inside the transaction, there's fairly much nothing you can sort of not envision and not do. And none of that requires any changes to the protocol. Bitcoin is secure. It's engineered in a way to maintain security. It is robust. And unlike many others out there, we intend to ensure the security of the Bitcoin protocol. We're going to ensure that the transaction costs are not only low, but get lower over time. And we're going to ensure that the transaction speed increases. And with people in all of the different nations within the continent of Africa, I'm very sure that you understand that it's very important to minimize cost. So if we can lower your overheads and you can transact quicker, easier, more securely, and save money, then that's something beneficial to everyone using it. Because of the evidence trail, we can also fight corruption. Corruption has held back many countries within Africa for a long time. If we now have records that are entered in the blockchain, that are transparent and immutable, people know what has occurred and nobody can lie about it. No one can say that you haven't been paid. No one can complain without evidence. And this is a benefit to everyone. We have a timestamp server. Effectively, we prove who is first, and we form a chain of this information. Corruption is probably one of the most insidious cancers within the economy. And if we can cure and fight corruption, even by taking a percentage of what goes into corrupt governments, corrupt officials, corrupt mafia types, then we're going to build a stronger, better world. So by timestamping your transactions, you know whether you're the first person to receive it. You know that something occurred. You have evidence and proof of any payment that has been made. If someone forces you to pay, you have proof that it's occurred. You can now go to a court and say, this has occurred. You can take that information to global supply chains, to watchdogs, to tax evasion officials. You can do all of these things to ensure that money laundering and procurement and government contract fraud doesn't occur. These are all problems that have plagued different nations within Africa and continue to do so today. They're all problems that we can help solve because of the evidence trail built within Bitcoin. So thank you. I hope you look into what we're doing, and I hope you understand that by ensuring the integrity of financial transactions and making an audit trail that cannot be removed, we're building a world that is more open and free. Thank you.